today what we were doing.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because nobody usually comes to the
Yeah.
individual ones. Okay, so we're live on Facebook and just send it down so they can start your meeting.
Thank you. All right, so I'd like to call the meeting to order. And I guess I'll go through roll call. Or actually, that's,
I can do that,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Jordan Atkins,
Here.
Kane Feltner,
Here.
David Fong, Sonia Holycroft,
Here.
Stephanie Johnson, Caroline Isley, here, Marvin Major,
Here.
Loretta Phillips.
Here.
Okay, so first initiative is under the task outline, social services structures, programming, and outreach efforts. And can I say before we jump into this, I think since we have all of our initiatives, I would like to note that if you all need more time getting these, I think we should probably move our meetings a little further out so we have more time to follow up. So with that being said, services structures.
Do we need to approve the minutes from last time?
You can
Oh,
go
and
Yeah,
ahead.
we'll do that in
HRC.
HRC.
She was ready for me to ask that question.
She's like,
So we didn't assign this to anybody per se to look into the grants at West Milton.
I'm looking through.
I don't think we did.
If we need to discuss in GIL and U, right? So, let's see. So who would like to, I don't know who suggested West Milton schools.
I think it was Stephanie mentioned
Yeah.
Stephanie
that they
did.
already have that in place through a grant. So she mentioned reaching out to them and figuring out how they got that grant
Okay.
to get somebody in the schools.
So
2.5 days a week. I don't know if that's only one school she's at or if it's spread across all the schools or how that works.
I'm not sure either. So I guess we can assign that to Stephanie.
Okay.
And that's for high school, junior high, and it's also for the elementary, correct?
I was assuming so. That's what I said.
Okay.
Because she had mentioned that it was only for 2.5 days a week.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if that was cumulative among all the schools, if that was just she was in the high school, or if she had to split the 2.5 days between all schools. I didn't know what she
Okay.
meant by that. So we would need to clarify that with her.
Okay, so the diversity training for staff and students, I know, Sonia, you've done a lot of this before, haven't you?
Well, mine's in regards to socioeconomic class.
Okay, so just a
Yeah, but
little different.
yeah, a little different. But so currently I am going to be trained in the training tactical communication that half of our police have went through, and an officer, a Troy officer, will be trained as well. And I'm going to approach the sheriff's department to see if they would want a trainer too. And our goal is to train everyone internally, hopefully make it part of as new officers come in, and then any more city like front lead of city, and then also make it best practice. And then the hopes is we could do that to the whole county, like future long term. So our training is at the end of October for that.
The woman that did the diversity training at Lancaster City Schools was really good. I could get her information.
Okay.
And then also the multicultural director at Ohio University is really good. She does a lot of training.
Sinclair too.
Ohio University. Oh, Sinclair.
Yeah, the light stop, there was a lady that talked about
Yes.
Sinclair too.
University of Dayton too. I would be willing to check with University of Dayton.
So I guess if we all could check, and then we could come back and discuss the different options if everybody would do that.
Yeah, I can bring a snippet of what I do too, because
Okay.
it is something that we've heard time and time again, that people don't feel that our school staff understands diversity in regards to economic class too. So that is a goal, to approach the school to see if they would be interested. Jordan has some overview of the bridges, bringing everybody to the table. It's kind of like the getting ahead, but it's for the community,
With
of
this,
getting people to understand language. And
Yeah, I actually had a encounter this Friday night. There's a kid. I've never talked to him, but I was on the sidelines, and I don't know his name, and I didn't have enough time to get all his information. But I think they're here from Africa, he said. But I think he was like, oh well, he's black, so he came up and he talked to me, and he was saying like, hey, there's these kids in my neighborhood, they probably would want to play football too. I told my wife, I was like, they really don't get to see a black coach. So it was pretty cool. So I've been like trying to, because I think he plays JV, so I'm trying to get his information so I can give them my information about potentially having more kids involved.
there becomes a financial issue, get with me, because if we can't help through our grants, there is a partner church that loves to do gap service stuff. So uniform, shoes, whatever, let me know.
Yeah, he played. He played, but he was saying there was like some other kids, and then obviously with COVID, like to be honest, especially for the 7th grade, it was their information stuff you would typically get through the school, like for the kids playing and stuff. So for this year, it was like I used a lot of my resources, but I only had the resources because I did Little League, so I was familiar with a lot of the parents. But I'm trying to get a hold of him.
Yeah,
Because I know he said there was a couple of kids in his neighborhood
that's
that
awesome.
I think wanted to play. So
Cool.
Kane, who did you say you were going to contact for
Yeah.
the diversity training?
I was going to contact the person that did the training at Lancaster City Schools, and then also the multicultural and diversity. I don't know her official title would be director,
Okay.
and I'll contact her. But do you think this is something that we could add on our budget request?
That's what I thought.
And maybe partner with the high school and make it an assembly, maybe a virtual assembly of some sort.
Yeah.
Then we won't have to pay for traveling. And we could have one for the students and one for the teachers from the same person. I think that would be
Okay.
really beneficial.
We would need like a couple of dates, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, and because I think each school, I don't know if you do all the schools together.
Okay for that, for the schools?
Well, yeah, we would have to get the approval
Yes.
and the date set with the
Okay.
school.
I would
with the
really
gentleman
like to
that
do a
came.
2 day training. A 1 day for us would be assimilating a whole town of people surviving in poverty. And we'd put all the teachers through the simulation, and then we would come back the next day and do a full day bridges training with them. So it would be a 2 day.
Bridges training, could you be specific on that?
It's bridges out of poverty.
Oh,
So
okay,
you're not familiar. So it's
No.
looking at socioeconomic classes, the differences
right,
in between, and inadvertently and unfortunately, a lot of people when they go through the training, they go, "Are you talking about?" Because it's under resourced, and statistically, if we're behind, sometimes it fits hand in glove. So
I went through that training when I worked at the shelter, and I will say it is, even though I already
yeah,
thought I knew, but it is good to, even though you know the disparities, it's good to still go through it
yeah,
and watch other people realize, like, oh wow,
yeah,
they don't realize the things that people have to go through. They just think it's a choice that they make.
Yeah,
Hmm.
especially in school, like
Yes.
if you're not at your
Yes.
parent teacher conference, we assume you don't care.
Yes.
Right.
Well, you might be at work, again, you might be a single parent home. So, yeah, it's very beneficial, but the school I haven't been able to train them. So I think this would be a good time to do that.
we should also, when we would talk to these people, is request like how much they would charge for.
Yeah, we definitely need
a
budgetary.
course like this, yeah.
The other thing is like schools, it would be really hard to have them do a 2 day training.
Yeah.
So we could do the simulation's 2.5 hours. We can
Okay.
condense it down to 1 day, but it's going to be an all day.
Mhm.
But one without the other doesn't really make sense because they don't have a lot of experience with poverty. So to be able to physically be exhausted from going through brings light. So I could condense it to a 1 day, but it's going to be a packed all day,
Okay.
like an in-service day.
So they can have in-service days, right?
Right.
they
Yeah.
have teacher days,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
So we would need to talk with the,
Board of Education.
yeah,
Or- yeah.
Chris and
more
Barnhorst.
likely the superintendent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would
That's
be
who
Chris Piper.
Chris Piper.
And he's pretty familiar with bridges and what we do.
I think it would also be great that maybe we find data or other information at other schools that have done this to show and prove that this is a necessity that they need, so that we kind of have a little bit of foundation upon it when requesting.
In regards to the training,
Yes.
it's a national known training. It's actually one of the fun, as a teacher, Ruby Payne
Mhm.
is like hand in glove, but I can
Oh, yeah.
post some stats, but it's,
I think that would be perfect.
Yeah.
Just then they don't really have like
yeah, no,
leeway.
actually, in truth, Mr. Zunke used to be a bridges trainer. Mr. Sadler's is, he does Ruby Tuesdays. So again, there are teachers that already buy into it, but I'll get some stats for you. Can you forward him the white page,
Forward to the weapons.
Kane?
Which
That
one?
white paper, the white paper that I gave you.
Yes.
So that's all part of bridges.
Oh, okay.
So that'll help you. He's gonna forward you.
Do you think this is anything that we need to talk to the union about as well?
Which union?
The
Detroit.
teachers.
the
Oh,
teachers.
teachers union.
I think if Chris.
Yes, it's
I don't know. I think it needs to go to the superintendent because I think
It'd be
that
okay.
person
Right.
can okay it. I mean, it depends on if they want to even look at this. You
Right.
know, it depends.
Yeah, it's just
Hopefully.
recommendations.
And I know with Troy Christian, that's Gary Wilbur. I'm sure he would want to do something like this.
And this is, something that, when we meet with the State Board of Education, we can request it to be maybe some sort of state legislation to be put in place for some type of poverty and training / bridge training, as
Yeah.
well as diversity training.
Well, we can definitely look to get that approved for the budget for Troy. It has to go through the city council first, but I think that would be very good for us to take a step in that direction. That's an excellent idea.
And we have buy-in. I mean, we have city council members that actually do the simulation for me and are very versed in bridges. So
Okay.
we have good people.
So it's probably better to do it in person, but due to what's going on right now, we have to do it over a web conference. So in the budget, we would need to look at, an allocation for space.
Yeah. So I'll ask my director to write a invoice of what that would be via Zoom.
And I don't know if we try to include the private schools or not. I know when you look at the city funding, it's really toward, the public schools, but there's a couple private schools in Troy, right? There's like a Catholic school downtown, and then there's another school across from Hobart, and then there's Troy Christian, and then there's another one. So there's like four. It's like four private schools here. Yeah.
Across from Hobart, is that Overfield?
Overfilled, yes.
Overfield,
Yeah.
Yeah, the preschool.
I was,
My grandson.
Did he? So do you all suggest that we reach out to those schools as well to
Yeah.
include them after we come up with
They
that?
do really
Yeah,
good.
I agree. In St. Pat's, we usually do simulations
Oh, you
there.
do it there? Okay, so
they're
already aware.
amazing. They've been partners
Okay.
for a while. So
My dad used to go to church over there.
Plus they have a nice area that we could actually.
yeah, it's huge. So
Yeah.
it would be very fitting.
Oh, is that where they have the annual, there's like a benefit that they have there?
Black and white tie.
Yeah, the
or
black
something.
tie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that.
That's nice. Okay, so Kane's gonna pull information, and Loretta's gonna pull information, and then you're gonna pull information, right?
Mhm.
And so we'll follow up on the next meeting.
Yep.
Was there anyone else? You guys have contacts as well?
I do not.
Okay. No, sir?
I know, right?
I think this is very
But the next
necessary.
one's all you.
Yes.
The next one, I totally see kids like talking to you and telling
Okay, I
you.
can do that. I definitely can do the next one.
I could see that.
I think we need to think about where to go though to talk to the kids.
That's true.
Obviously, I can contact Shane Lincoln Center and ask, when's the best time to come in and talk to the kids.
Do you know, oh Lord, I just lost her name from the wreck.
Thinking of her name too. Adrian used to go there for the after school program.
Are we going to break it down to, age, like kind of age bracket?
I think we should, yeah.
I'll take the little one.
Okay.
You're so sweet.
No, I
had-
that's good
I had
because
a
I can
license.
talk to the I can talk to the older kids.
I had a licensed preschool in my home for over 14 years.
Yeah, no, that's
So
good.
that's my forte is a little.
That's awesome.
So this is gonna be like a face-to-face, or is it gonna be like a survey?
That's
What's the
what I think we need to
format?
figure out. I don't know. I want to talk to some of the kids face to face. I feel like that's a good idea to talk to a lot of them face to face.
I like if you do it because you don't have a bias to an organization or an affiliation.
Right.
So I think that's fair. I would be willing to put out surveys and or do above and beyond like 101s with adults that come into Partners in Hope because that's suitable there too. And we can also just collect the surveys as well. I know our groups have been focus groups
Yep.
in the last year. So if you guys want a specific focus group, our partner families would do that, and you could come in and ask them whatever questions you'd like to.
That's nice. I'm thinking through like a set of data. So we want a good set of data, right? Not like a non-biased set of data. So I believe the population of Troy for minorities is 11%, 11 or 12%. So we would need, now I believe our population is 30,000. Salome, do you know, give or take a couple hundred?
Those were from 2010 census.
2010,
Yes.
and we've grown in that
We
time.
did not have 30,000 in 2010. It was around 28,000.
Okay,
But we expect to have around 30,000 after the census is done in 2020.
okay,
So the minority percentage might change too. We don't know yet.
Yep.
Because the census is not completed yet.
Yeah.
But the data we have on the website here, that's from 2010 census.
Okay.
I think it would be interesting, we don't have to dive in it too much now, but as we create the survey, to kind of try to correlate their resources. So again, like, is this a kid that's in clubs and sports,
Yeah.
feels acclimated, or are you dealing with a kid that is suffering from a lack of
Yeah.
resources? Because again, I think we can tell what their version of stability or diversity would be,
Right.
depending
So
on
I
how
think we need to come up
connected.
with a list of questions, like preliminary questions, like just about the person,
Yeah,
you know, and then go into the actual survey
Yeah.
about what we want to know about. That
Yeah.
way we know.
I agree, because you could get some skewed data depending on
Absolutely.
who you're.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to spend some time with that. Because I know it's like really all in the way that you ask the questions, and it's, the wording has to be very clear, or you'll get, some different
Yeah,
points of data that may not make sense.
you might be able to prove to you sports and music actually help a kid transcend out of that too. So we could help the school advocate for funding if we could
Yes.
do it intentionally.
So we need to come up with a question set. That's the goal there. So can we talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. What's your main goal for I guess the survey?
I guess just to see what their perception is of what they have to deal with. So, I mean, if we're gonna really talk about, we know the statistics for like the gap in education and all of that, but we need to know what they're really experiencing when they're at school. We
Okay.
can look at the studies and all of that of the statistics, but I haven't been in school for 15 plus years, so it's not the same as what it was, or it could be the same. We need to talk to the kids that are in the school and figure out for us what is, maybe another initiative we need to come up with.
I see.
So I think that talking to the kids and figuring out, is there stuff that you feel like you can't talk about in school, you can't bring up in the school? What do you see when you're in the school as opposed to what people think is going on in the schools?
Okay.
And how it impacts their overall
Yes.
goal of graduation,
Yes.
retention, and
And what they want to
being
be.
viable and
Yes.
staying in their community. And so I don't know, I just started writing like discover gap services through perception of students at the high school. Because again, some things are perception, some are reality. So
Yeah.
that's what we're trying to get to, and how to build, the community that the city would expect, reflect.
The other thought I like to add, I'm a big Stephen Colby fan, like start with the end in mind. So I was thinking that if we kind of look at the things that we can give kids currently, so we can put them on a path to college. We can put them on a path to a community college or a 4-year college, or we can put them on a path to what is it? It's trade school. Yep. Thank you. So we have trade school, and then there's different career paths. There's even different companies here within Troy, and then there's of course the armed forces. And so I think if we're looking at how to get kids, out of Troy into a good profession, there's a whole pathway that we can kind of gear the questions toward. But then if we're looking at kids in elementary school and junior high, I think those questions are going to be different
Yeah.
Yeah.
as
Culture.
Yeah.
What culture is being fostered when you're smaller?
Yeah.
well.
Because the culture will dictate, do I stay
Yeah.
or do I go?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
And
what
I
will I be, or what do I want to be?
Mhm.
Yeah.
What am I interested in right now as being small?
Mhm.
And then kind of gear them to, okay, what about this or this?
Because if we show the impact of, like you said, having or not having people that look like
Like
me
you.
in leadership,
Mhm.
then if we could show that through the questions, we also show more validity of why we need more Jordans in the world.
Right.
Sweet.
Right.
I mean,
And
that's
little
true.
ones, it's really easy because you show them picture books. I want to be an astronaut. Well,
Mhm.
there are a lot of black astronauts.
Mhm.
Yes, there
And
are.
a lot of them have probably never seen it because, they're not doing the space shuttles and all the stuff where they are, but
Yeah.
they're not like they used to be and that kind of, I want to be
SpaceX now.
what is the one with, yeah,
You better buy some stuff.
Veterinarian or.
yeah, veterinarian.
Anything like that,
Yeah.
yeah, they're not seeing.
No, so kind of show them different types of things, find out what they like, and then we can, help
Yeah.
mold them.
Tell them what's there.
I want to know what resources they have
Yeah.
now.
So what
What
was that?
resources they have.
Yes. So career paths, post high school.
Like resources like do they have what they need to even be a functional student,
Right.
right? Like are they at the starting point with everyone else, or are they, and that could be from IEPs to an apartment to food, you know what I mean?
I'm sure they have data on how many students have IEPs or 504s and all that information. I'm sure they have, because I mean, the only thing protected is their name.
Mhm.
So you can basically find out the information behind it,
Okay.
reasons why, but you just wouldn't be able to see the names. My only concern is that I can tell you that I didn't know I had a bad learning environment, as a child. I just only knew what I knew.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Right.
for me, I would think I was being truthful in my answer, saying that my environment was a good environment,
Right.
and I wouldn't be judging it off my grades. I would just be judging it off of, I don't know, seems fine to me.
Yeah,
And so
that's
that's
good.
yeah. So that's
Right.
I think the only conflict we're gonna run into, and maybe I don't know how we would work around that.
Have to word those
Be
questions.
specific.
Really?
We wouldn't.
Uh-huh.
We shouldn't say specifically like, "Are you in a good learning environment?"
Mhm.
Should we say,
How do you feel at school? What does
Yes.
school make you feel like?
"Is someone
Little
there at
things.
home to walk to sit down?"
Do you have your own
homework?
bedroom, your own space?
Yes, exactly.
Adequate lighting.
Exactly.
Right.
That kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So
Access
then
to
they're
internet.
not going,
Mhm.
"Oh well, yeah, my room's dirty. I share with 3 other people.
Yeah.
I don't have a quiet space in the house." They're not thinking like, "Oh, these are all bad things." It's just, "Oh, yeah,
That's all they know.
exactly."
Yeah.
They know,
Exactly.
so
Change up the question differently.
Right.
We do a lot of mental models at Partners in Hope because, again, lack of language, the chaos, the norm. So just to circle and put what you navigate, what you deal with, you'd be mind blown if you see all the
Mhm.
things. And then they go, oh, I didn't realize, or that's why I can't breathe. And
Yeah.
so models are really good.
And then you tie that into like a general GPA average.
Mhm.
Don't say specific, but like, are you around a 2.5 or 3.0, so on and so forth. And
So-
then you can.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm thinking out loud. I was thinking that maybe we could do a survey like online where someone could read the question to them. Because I was also thinking that, depending on the age of the person, we may need to, I don't know. I think it's a lot easier for some people to hear a question instead of read a question, especially if they're younger. And then I think they'll get the correct understanding of what we need to get from them. And then we can it just depends on how many people do the survey, but we can make it to where it's like a multiple choice, or they could write in. But, if they do write in, it's, that's a lot of data set that we're going to have to go through depending on how many
Exactly.
kids.
And there's going to be the assumption with multiple choice.
Right. So like if we're looking at, the population of Troy, if you just put like a round number up,
25?
she said 28,000.
So
So-
2010, it was around, census was 26,000.
Yeah.
but then they used the
Estimate, which is now
Yes.
like
In
28.
2019 and 18 and 17 was around 28,000.
All right, so I'll just use a round number of 30,000, right? So if we look at 30,000 and then we do 10% of 30,000, that's 3,000, right? And so if we do maybe 40% of those are in school, maybe I would say. And so 1,200. And so if we got half those surveys back, we're looking at 600 surveys. And that's just for the minority set of population. And so if you look at it, extending that out, so it could be a significant amount of data that we're combing through. So I would suggest that the data set be set up with parameters of multiple choice answers.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so sorry I had to say that out loud though. Okay, I'll write the those in.
Would this be an online or like filling in bubbles?
I think we could do both. I think that I think some people may want to go to the center and actually talk to kids. And that's good. And we can take that data and just push it into the system. And then
We can even
others,
take the survey to them.
Yep.
And talk to them and, even just get other things from them besides what's on the survey, and I think that would help too, but,
yeah.
telling them and asking them what's on the, and explaining it to them
Yeah.
might be a good way too.
So are you looking for after school programs so like the YMCA stuff?
Yeah, if the YMCA and after school, I know that Lincoln Center, the rec,
The
and
rec,
honestly, like if we could, 'cause I know like the littles that are in like daycares and preschools and things like that, they may not be able to answer, but their parents may be able to answer, what
Right.
have you been
Mhm.
told about, or what options are you being given, and things like that too. I think it also could stem all the way down to that as well. We can look at that too.
I think we could also talk to the school superintendents and ask if we can, hey, would you mind if your children took the survey? We're just trying to figure out some information to try to help our city. I don't think
During,
any
like,
superintendent would say no
Yeah.
to that.
Just
Yeah.
to say,
He's
like,
great.
oh, we don't want to do that.
Is he?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a
I mean,
really
we
good
can
one.
sit down
We
and
got
say,
lucky
hey,
with
whoever
this
wants to take the survey,
Good one.
and
Good.
Yeah, I
talk
think
to us,
so.
and you
He's
can talk to us
on
when we're
this.
there.
Oh, okay. So
he
he,
gets it.
yeah. Okay. Yep. So we need to come up with this survey. I know that there's several companies that build surveys, and you kind of talk to them and tell them what you're trying to accomplish, and then they kind of help you craft the questions based on their years of experience.
Now,
So-
Stephanie, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
To cut you off. Stephanie did mention that the Troy City School District has hired a third party to do surveys in each building.
But did she tell us what questions were on there? She said it was
No, that was it. That's
some type of a survey,
yeah.
but she didn't say the questions that were on there.
But maybe we could piggyback some additional questions if we could get the preliminary, and then we don't have to budget it, or you know what I mean? We're
Yep.
partnering. I think, yeah, it looks good for partnering too. Because again, like kids are only gonna, you know what I mean? The second time it's just like C or whatever, like, because they don't get the
Right.
how awesome it could be to help them. So yeah, I think we start with Chris, talking to Chris Piper about what we can do in regards to the survey, and then any education or training would be Michael Moore too, because he's in charge of,
Chris, is that a female or male?
that is a male.
Okay.
And then Michael Moore would be curriculum
And Chris is the Troy City School, right?
superintendent. Yep. And mind you, like the information that we're going to glean out also may help the school advocate for
Their students.
their students in better buildings and everything that they need to do too. Because again, part of them getting new buildings was to get more kids into intervention earlier and education earlier. So I think it would be a good partnership.
I would like to get kids in Troy, a brand new school. I think that would help so much.
Oh, say that louder. Zoom. If Chris is going to say, Chris hears that. I mean, that's a good thing because the schools really need new schools.
I mean, at the least they can do is get air conditioning in the schools.
Oh my gosh.
But we'll all do the wave for that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's tough. It's hot.
Help the kids. There's no way I can sit in a class and learn without AC.
I'm telling you. And they have masks on. My daughter, she said by second period, she was drenched.
I'm sure.
Sweat, can't, and they got to do it. So,
Didn't they give them? They've been giving them like hour or 2 hours a day.
That was only for 2
That was
days.
just for 2 days.
The first 2 days of school, that was it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fall has come. I think it's been chilly, kind of. But yeah,
I'll
it's
tell you,
tough.
They do that. Put on the heat index,
Yes.
which I can say when I was in school, they never did.
They never did that,
We
yeah.
died.
I know. We didn't do
Windows.
that.
He said we died.
I love it.
I
Were
guess
you
that-
in there dehydrated?
Fan, you put a fan on. Yeah.
You look like you was in gym class before you went to gym class.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you had to go through
I
that.
know, right?
I didn't when I was in junior high air conditioning.
See?
So I think some aspects of the high schools, I believe,
Yeah.
not all.
Is Troy a Title I? Or I don't
I'm not
I
sure.
don't think it is.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's
I don't know.
so. I don't think they get the same funding as Title I. Because I mean that brings in a whole other question of like school funding and how that money is allocated to them, and because honestly, their learning environment is affected by the temperature.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know before we voted for the levy, Chris actually came into Partners in Hope and talked to all of our partner families and broke the budget down, broke down the reasoning why. He's willing to talk to anybody about the funding and what they're dealing with.
I think that would be really great to bring him in for a large commission meeting for the HRC and talk about the budget, talk about not being a Title I school and what that looks like for them, and then some of the things they have to dodge around, and then also talking about
Yeah.
the levies.
Because when they get it too, that's all the more reason they need more diversity training because now they're meshing kids from across the way so again, I think it makes sense.
So should we invite him to a subcommittee meeting? Would you guys have to do that?
I think you have to
That's on
invite
here.
him on a regular meeting, HRC commission meeting.
We have to invite him to the main meeting?
Yes, because we do have presenters, scheduled for presenters, and then Thursday, in the commission meeting packet, I included list of people we mentioned
Yeah, I
in
did
the
get that.
commission meeting, and you can add his name, and also you'll be working on prioritizing which president you want to invite first, and then
Okay.
who you want to invite next. So with the entire commission, you should discuss who will be presenting next, and you can also add the dates and you can schedule the meetings.
Okay.
But it has to be discussed with the entire commission, and the entire commission has to make the decision, what your priorities are.
Okay.
That makes sense. Filtering it down. We're getting there. We're getting there.
But that's how the committees work, so
Yeah.
you each have your initiative, you're working on that, but the decisions really have to be made in the entire commission.
That makes sense.
Thanks for letting us know.
Yes, I got that too.
He's great.
The regulator, Salome.
Regulator.
She probably doesn't know that song.
I bet she knows that song. She's hip.
Yeah,
See?
Oh, there it is.
They don't stop sleeping on you. By the time we're done, it's world will go Salome, right? And it's more than a lady from Georgia. Tell them, girl.
There
So I don't know
it
if you guys
is.
listen to podcasts, but I'm really big on podcasts, and there is one called Nice White Parents. And it's about in New York. So I don't know if you guys know about the elementary system in New York. There's so many private schools, but
Yep.
they come out with a book every year and they grade them by like what's the best school to go to, and it goes down the line. Well, there's certain schools, depending on what neighborhood you live in, just like any other place, it's going to be predominantly brown, black, non-white kids. So Nice White Parents is about nice white parents who think that they want their kids to be in diverse schools, so they come up with these great plans to bring in diversity and bring their white kids to these, you know, multicultural schools, but they're only doing it because they want their kids to have diversity. They're not
Yeah.
thinking about the impact that it has on the other children and what they've been used to and what they need. So they bring all this money in for like a French, you know, and it's completely just shows, you know, people with good intentions, quote unquote, when it's really not good intentions. And it's, I mean, I listen to the whole podcast, right? It's a really, really good podcast on just realizing what is really needed and what
Yeah.
people think is really needed, what they think they're helping with, and they're really not helping. They're
Where
just,
can I find it?
Just search podcasts on iTunes.
yeah, it's called Nice
Yeah.
White Parents. If you just look on, if you have an iPhone, it's on Apple Podcasts.
I'm gonna check that out. That sounds fun.
Yeah, it's nice. It's really good.
That happens so much.
Yes. Yeah,
So much.
and I just, yeah, I mean, it's really good. The Serial and the New York Times is one you put it on. I mean, it's a really good podcast.
Nice, thank you.
That's an interesting perspective because, you know, there's a lot of people that will send their kids to a private school from like pre-K all the way through like 9th grade. And then 10th grade, 11th grade, they'll let them merge in with the rest of the city kids just to understand.
Yes, yes,
And,
and that was the main thing. You know, I want my kids to understand, you know, and be
Have your
cultured and
Yes.
see it different. And it's like, then they interview the other kids, the other students that had been in the school, and they're like, what is going on? Like,
Yeah.
we don't need this French class.
Yeah.
We don't need this. Like,
Yeah,
this isn't helping us. You're bringing in more money, but it's not for anything that we need.
yeah.
It's for the things that these new students that you're bringing in, they want, and they need, and they want to be cultured. So that's why they're coming to our school and bringing money, but it's not benefiting them.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I'll try and find a company that can admin the survey, and
Or do we want to see if we can work with their server first? Or we can
work with who survey.
the or whatever, the school. If they hired a third party.
Oh,
I don't know if they did or not. It's just in the notes.
I don't know if their question set will be
Okay.
what we. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it's worth a question, but
Yeah.
I think we're
See if
gonna
we
have
can get
our
one
own
of
set
them
of
and take a
data.
look at it and see what it says, because a lot of them don't apply to minority kids.
Yeah, and it's
So
a
off
third party,
base.
so they
Yeah,
might.
it's kind of like what she said about the kids going to the school. It's, you know, it doesn't apply to them or us.
Okay.
And so the survey, are we saying just minorities, or are we saying people?
We want
that come
different.
from
everything.
Yeah, because we
Look
want
at
different
everything.
things on there too about, you know, socioeconomic status and things too. Like the kids that they may not be, you know, black, brown, but they're white and they don't have money and their parents still don't know about
Right.
certain
Yeah.
things because they're
Yeah.
not privileged enough to know about those things. And they don't think they're
Yes.
going anywhere, so they don't need to tell these kids.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want all of them.
Also,
It would
we
be
need to,
easier to measure.
yeah, we need to put some sexual orientation
Mhm.
questions in there because it's the world. So
So my question, and this may be a dumb question, but so should we? How do we say we only want kids who come from a home that has X amount of income or less? I mean, is that what we're saying?
But I think what we need to do is, that's why we have that first preset of questions, you know, just those basic, you know, what's your race? What's your parents' income? You know, just those basic questions that people get asked on surveys anyways to kind of determine where they fall. And then once we have the ones from the areas that we need, we can pull those and see what we need
Yeah,
to
and
see
we-
from those specific ones.
to develop a trend, you have to have all,
Yeah,
right? So
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
you could
Right.
say,
yeah.
I see a trend
Trend
that
with this.
people are long-term successful when they have
Or people
X
know
amount
these
of
things,
resources
yes.
or
We'll
have
see
these things.
this and this.
Yes.
Yeah, or I notice if these people, you know, partake in sports or band, they have more communication awareness to
Yes.
know about CCP or, so I think
Yes, it needs to
like,
be every single.
and I had to take
Yeah.
stats twice, so forgive me, but I think like you just did, you look at the whole and then you take an average
Yeah.
from each, because it's
Yeah.
important to look at all, and you can find diversity within higher socioeconomic classes as well. And it could be grandparents, it could be addiction, mental health,
Yeah.
yeah, those things.
Yeah.
Because it's
Could be
really
good
interesting
to-
to look at somebody with mental health with no money and mental health with
Mhm.
money.
Money.
This person is literally in college same mental health diagnosis, and this one could be like homeless.
Yeah.
So again,
Or even to look at the kids that are in with the sports as opposed to the kids that aren't. Like just how would they know and what they're able to have access to. So I think that, yeah, every kid we need to, just so we can even to gauge, against the other ones
Yeah,
that are
that's-
getting. You need to
that's
see
what
the
I-
percentages on each side, not just the ones that are not getting what they need.
So we're saying all students.
yes.
So we need to try to understand how we question that data. Because I know we have honor students, we have honor roll students, and we have, kids that are, I guess, not in the normal classes, so we need to kind of understand that too, right? So
Yeah. The percentage that go to JVS.
Yeah.
Like, are they from a certain socio class? Did they go from failing to 4.0s? That always blows my mind. I get their different teaching methods, but that's too much diversity
Yeah.
to go from failing to 4.0.
maybe it's something that they're just, they're not really a learner,
They're
like,
bored.
in the traditional sense where they can sit in the classroom and go home and do the homework, but
I mean, that's
Yeah,
fair,
at a
but could
trade
we
school.
adopt some of those things at the high school
That
so we have
are being done,
success
yeah.
long-term here in our high schools too?
So you're saying like, as far as like being decent at the high school and then going to like the JVS and your grades are just
great, better.
great.
Like, yeah, like all of a sudden, like
That's
you're
your
emeritus, like what?
That's your niche.
Yeah.
Not everybody probably likes high school, and not everybody wants to go to college.
It's your niche,
set
or
them
it's
on-
the culture, or
Yeah,
it's
true.
relation. Yeah, like,
True.
aren't you, like, what is it, right? Because some of it we could
Well,
foster
that's,
here.
because that's a good question.
Or
because,
are they
like,
running,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know?
See, I see. So my grades were decent at the high school, but I think I went to the JVS because my cousin went to the JVS.
So when you went to your counselor, did he deter you from going to the JVS?
No.
Okay, because
Not
when I
really.
went, and we were around the same age,
Right.
when I went to see my counselor wanting to go to the JVS, no, my grades were too good, I'm not going to JVS, you're a college, you're gonna go to college.
But I
not
did
gonna
feel
sign
like
off
the
on it.
JVS was super easy.
But that's,
Is that
that's another
good,
good
or
thing
is
to
that
bring up
bad?
though, why is it so easy?
I don't.
If we're preparing people for their careers, why
See,
is it so easy?
I feel like, and this is just my opinion on it. I felt like my lab, which is what you go for, to me was harder than all my other classes
Okay,
because I thought my lab was going to be way different than what it was. See, I had the expectation, all right, electronics, I'm going to go in there and mess with some electrical stuff, and that's going to be fun, and boom. When we went there, it was like math, science. Like, wait a minute, now this ain't what I signed up for.
But see, that's
Yeah,
school,
that's another
and
good
that
thing,
is
too.
what's gonna determine your level of stability
Right.
for your whole life. Like, that's huge.
But I felt like my depending on what teachers, but I feel like that about Troy too. I think it just depends on what teachers you get, because like I took a forensic science class there, and that was probably one of my favorite classes because it was interesting. My math class, it was like
Me too.
I can just come here, not study, do it, and I'm gonna walk away with an A. So I just think it depended on what teachers at the JVSU had too. Because my math class, I'm telling you, it was like, I'll be honest, I felt like some of the stuff that I did there was like stuff you would do in like elementary.
really?
So some of this comes back to our employment, and when chamber or jobs say don't have the basic skills.
Yes,
Like,
that's what I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
like you're saying your math class was so easy, that shouldn't be, like,
Yeah, I mean, it
math
was
and
like-
science, like, that's why they're saying, like, there's so many kids that aren't in those STEM careers, because they're not getting the math and the science that they need, and it's like, teachers are just pushing the kids through that they don't think really need it and aren't gonna use it.
Right.
I remember, like, I was in pre-calc before I left high school, trigonometry, and I didn't even need it for my degree, but it was like, oh, you can take this math class, you've already advanced in junior
Right.
high, so you need to go to the next step. So then to hear you say at the JVS, like you felt like your math, and I was, you know, and I'm in high school and I'm struggling with pre-calculus as a junior, it's
I'm
like,
telling you, I was
that's
like,
crazy to me.
this is heaven. Like,
But
I
I feel like
honestly,
this is doing them a disservice.
I
That's what-
honestly
that's
felt
what
like
Laura did too.
if you went to, not all the classes, I felt like if you went to the JVS and you at least did your work, you should be fine. I knew as an athlete,
Yeah,
there was absolutely no way I would be academically ineligible
Right. So
if
I have
applied
children that
myself.
have went there for
Yeah.
that reason
my
too.
sister went there.
Like,
Yeah,
I
so-
knew that. I mean, I never was
Yeah.
academically ineligible anyways, because I was like, I'm going to play football. I'm not
Right.
missing nothing. But I mean, I did experience that 8th grade, and that sucks. Which is what I tell my kids. I'm like, listen, I don't care if it's something stupid. To me, like, they made us do like a leaf project. We had to go out and collect all these different leaves. I'm like, I ain't doing that. I ain't got time for that. I'd rather go do something else. But when I was ineligible that following year, I was like, I should have went and got them damn leaves.
Get your leaves on. Yeah.
But
All the leaves.
But yeah, I was like, and then they said, well, we know you was at the park and stuff anyways. I'm like, yeah, but I didn't feel like collecting nothing.
Yeah. So doing the survey right, we will be able to really glean out some things that could be beneficial for the schools and for us.
Yes.
It'd be a good partnership.
And I definitely I don't want to say, because I don't know how the JVS is now, because it's
Yeah,
way
I don't
different
either,
now
yeah.
than it was when I was there. But I can say, yeah, I was like, my lab to me was probably harder than any of my other classes.
Mhm.
But I think it's because that's what
It's hands
when you
on.
go there, they're sending you there to, because you pick your career path.
Yeah, there's certain things you have to check off on your
Yeah, they're
lab,
like,
so you
okay,
have
well,
to
you're
have.
going to have to do this.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Now, I taught there early childhood development,
Mhm.
and that most of those young ladies wanted to become teachers.
Yeah.
And they worked with, what's the place? That teacher?
Yeah.
Next door,
Edison.
yeah, Edison, yeah,
Edison.
yeah.
They worked credits at
Teacher.
Edison. And then they did alternate care. I mean, we took trips, field trips to like, at the time it was KinderCare. And then there was another daycare that they had. We went to Overfield. And then when I stopped working there, I started my own home care center. And I was one of their model for doing home care,
Okay.
licensed home care. So I know those kids work. I mean, they work.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
And
I
they did
know,
math, they did everything
right.
that the regular students do, but their main goal was to become teachers or
Mhm.
childcare some type of childcare providers.
And I thought about what you said. I think they told my wife not to go there too. I'm pretty sure.
And it's crazy because my sister,
Yeah.
she was only 2 years behind me, wanted to go for cosmetology, and they sent her.
Mhm.
And I mean, so it really just, I don't know, they don't,
Does she do cosmetology?
no, and that's the thing, she doesn't even do
Okay.
cosmetology now, she went to college after, and she's a medical assistant now, but
That was me.
and I know
See?
plenty of people that went there for certain things, and they don't even have anything to do with what they went there for. It's an escape from the hard stuff, like, I didn't want to write my senior thesis or my junior research paper, so I'm gonna go to the JVS, because I don't have to do any of those things,
See, I actually wanted to come back to the high school,
really.
but they wanted to put me in like CBIP, and I'm like, I'm not one of them kids. Sorry. I'm
Yeah,
not.
they make it so much
I'd
harder to
rather
come
just
back
stay here.
because, yeah, I mean, you have certain
I'm not doing
requirements
all
that you
that.
have to meet as a junior and a senior. You have to write a research paper as a junior,
Yeah.
and you have to write a thesis as a senior, and you don't have to do that at the JVS. So kids that want to come back after, it's like they're in a place where it's like, okay, well, you didn't do the requirements as a junior, so
Mhm.
what are we gonna do with you?
And see, like, because of, like, I've had to take summer gym and summer health because of the way that's all
Yeah, yep.
structured.
Yeah.
Thank you for that information. I didn't know.
This is my favorite. Educational Pathways, the stadium program. This is dear to my heart, the stadium program. So if there's anything you need me to do for that, I would love to do that.
Oh, the stadium program.
That's just dear to my
Oh,
heart.
yeah.
You said you wanna take care of the stadium program?
Yeah, that is very near to my heart. I've had,
How long has that
Several
been there?
kids.
Because I feel like I don't even know anything about that until I came here.
I would be
Joined
guessing,
Rossville
I wanna
05 and I've never-
say definitely less than 10 years for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
It,
That would, I
Is it
think
literally in the
Kane
stadium?
was gonna
It's
pull
in-
information
it's
on
in
that,
football
right?
where the football players-
I'm not sure. I wasn't at that last meeting. I know that Kane was interested in the student body employment. Or I'm sorry, not that. Government, student government.
Yeah,
I
like,
think he had mentioned.
Exactly, you can't find
We
space.
talked about inviting them to the
Yeah,
commission meeting.
I'm not sure. If he is, then we'll let him continue that. But if you need like someone to other, I will.
I forgot what Kane mentioned, but he mentioned a few times the name of the one of the stadium programs. It was female's name, but I don't remember.
A study program.
Stadium program.
Oh, the stadium program. It was ran by. I thought it was called Outreach. but
He
I
was
could be
mentioning
wrong.
the name of one.
Yeah,
I
he was,
think he was saying that should be taught as one of the programs, but I really don't remember.
I thought his association with the stadium program was negative.
Yeah, it was.
And
That's why I
that-
would like
yeah.
to
And
do
that
it.
he
Yeah.
wanted it back in the school, not at the stadium.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree
I don't,
too.
yeah, I don't think that that's,
I mean,
think
it's
that's what he
negative,
was
yeah.
talking to the HR director about,
I
right?
think it's
Got
how
him
it's set
upset.
up, because
Yeah,
it's
and they're
actually,
isolated.
the kids say, well, not only that, but the kids say it stinks. It's in the football room.
It's in the
Well,
locker
Well,
room.
yeah, it's in the locker room. My
Yeah.
kid graduated from
It's in
it.
the
She
locker room.
graduated early. I've had a couple clients, family members that were in the program as well. Yeah, I think it could be moved. I think now the issue is they don't have space, but new building, maybe that could be. Maybe we could look at different places, but having a more welcome environment for breakfast and lunch, not feeling like, you're separate from
The regular school.
the regular
Students.
school and
Yeah.
whatnot. And then also intentionally, I think you're supposed to have a job. That's why you go half day. You don't have a job that goes into the employment for kids, because that's supposed to be a work study type situation. So again, we want them to be successful even if they're in
but I
that.
think too, that we
But I-
talk about just being inclusive
Right.
Yeah.
is so major in a
Yeah.
kid's education.
Yes,
Like
it
to know
is.
that you're being ostracized and put in the locker room where they hang their jock straps. Like,
You want
me to
know what I mean?
figure
Like,
out
It's just,
Who runs
it's
it?
not fair.
Yeah.
And
I
then we
think
could
it's
come
good,
back and
yeah.
see if we could invite them.
Yeah.
Because we have to remember that even as we advocate, it's, we got to figure out how to do it in a positive manner.
Right,
Because it's not,
right.
it isn't, it is a rough thing. That stadium school for sure. And then realizing not everyone is motivated and can learn by a computer. Because some of them, again, if you have learning disabilities or whatnot, it's not processing, right? And then we asked did we send this information to Mr. Barnhorst?
No.
Can we send that to get the answers?
What
Yes.
information?
So under 4, there are questions. I want to know statistics of how many kids per race are actually in the program, expelled, suspended, because now we have discipline and stadium program together. There's ESL questions, special education. I think it's just question about data. So can we send that to Mr. Barnhorst, just see if we could get those answers?
You have his information, don't you?
You want me to do it?
Yeah,
Okay.
just go ahead and
Thank
email
you.
it. Get
She
her
was waiting for you
done.
to
I was
say
waiting
that.
for someone to be
Yeah.
like, do it yourself.
I
But
was
she
like,
never
"Cool."
says that.
So you're gonna send all the questions to him?
Yeah,
Data
just
questions?
these questions
Okay,
here.
that's what okay,
Yeah.
okay. It's all the data question.
And then see if I can even get like an overview of, so I can, we could figure out what exactly it was built for, why, how long. That's fair to know.
And how often do you have to be, well, what do they call it, in trouble? To be sent there, or is that the reason that you're there? Because don't they have a special ed?
Yes, they have a special, well, that, back when I was there, they had the special education.
Yeah, those are two separate
classrooms, like
things.
Two separate things. The
Okay.
stadium program is for the kids that are at risk of not graduating. correct?
Yes,
They need,
yeah.
they need the
Not
credits to
okay.
get to
Yeah.
graduation.
So that's all it is? It's not
Mhm. And
behavior?
But it could have been because of behavior.
So-
So they're there because they just don't have the credit. So whether or not it's because they didn't go to school or because they failed or
Okay.
whatever. But I think that's a good question too.
Yeah.
Like, are you there because you need help?
Or
you're
are you there
failing classes?
because you-
Or are you there because you skipped school and you didn't come and now you don't qualify? You know what I mean? Because
Right.
there's two different types of kids that may not be getting credit.
Yeah.
The kids that aren't getting the help that they need, so they're failing all their classes. And the kids that just don't give a crap and they're just not coming to school.
there's a mix. She's right.
Gotcha.
Okay, I can do that for sure. And the next one, student body employment, more diverse hiring practices. Student. Did you get your questions answered? Like this one?
Number
that-
3.
No, I went
Yeah,
to
I
5. Okay, to number 5. I missed that meeting, so I'm not sure if you guys had already asked. that
Oh.
question.
Under number 5.
Yeah, it just says student body employment, more diverse hiring practices. It was
Yeah.
suggested that employment committee could add the
Well, because the
following.
last meeting, I know I wasn't here and you guys couldn't hear me. My phone would not let me be on. It wouldn't let me be great, so I could hear everything, but I couldn't talk. And I did hear Stephanie say something about, in this, that he had no interest. Was it Michael Moore, was it him that had no interest in something that we had mentioned, like going onto a different website or something and, or coming up with a standard or a policy for bringing in more diverse teachers, and he said he wasn't interested in doing that, that he just wanted to still
You
go
mean
how he
Tim?
was going, and just going to that one website and getting the applications and just reviewing them, but he didn't want to come up with an initiative to specifically say, we want this percentage of minority teachers.
Oh,
I think I remember her saying that, I know I wrote it down.
but was that Tim or Michael? Michael's
I don't know, I couldn't
curriculum.
remember the name of the person, but I remember her saying, yeah, he said he wasn't interested in coming up with a policy to say, yes, we want a certain amount of minority teachers. He wasn't interested in that.
Do you
So
know
I
who that
remember making a note of that because it didn't really ring right with me.
No, I wouldn't say.
Would that have been Tim?
Yeah, it didn't sync with me at all.
That must have been.
Did Michael come with Tim to the meeting? So then it would be Tim,
No.
right? Like who they're referring to?
No one was attend.
No, this was,
Oh, I
was
thought
something
she,
Stephanie had mentioned.
gotcha,
Oh,
okay.
she in the beginning of the meeting. That's what.
I don't know if it was the beginning, but she had mentioned, because she was from home too, so she was talking on and off, but she had mentioned that, and I wrote it down, I don't have my
I
book
do
with
not
me, but.
remember about Mr. Barkhorst, but I do remember her talking about how she mentioned diversity, minority goals and
Yes.
quotas to Civil Service Commission and Mr. Funderburg.
Maybe it was him.
But she said that first of all, I don't know if it's legal to have quotas. I don't know if that's
Well, it's not.
Not a
It's not a
quota, it was
quota,
a
it's not
goal.
Quota, it's
Yeah,
a
one
goal.
goal.
yes. So once
Yeah.
that it was mentioned to one of your meetings, quota was mentioned too.
Oh,
And then she said that minority goals, Mr. Funderburg said on the civil services, it's always the goal to have a minority and diversity at the workplace. So the employees and they all have that in mind when they're hiring.
But then he
But
said
no,
that
it
they
didn't
did not
on a
have,
specific
they did
one.
not know whether they were minorities or
Yeah,
not.
because he's
Did
just,
he not say
yes,
that?
yeah, so he's just pulling based on what their qualifications are. So, and what I remember specifically, because I wrote it down, and I'll get my agenda when I get back home, because I wrote it down on that specific, because it
Meetings are
really struck
also
me as why would you not
recorded,
be
so you
interested
can
in
go
making
back
that
and listen
goal.
to those. Meetings are also recorded.
Yeah.
And you can go back and listen to them, but that's what I remember.
Yeah, and I think it was something along the lines that they weren't interested in making a goal specifically saying, like, we're gonna make an effort to hire this percentage of minorities. And that's what struck me as like, why would you not be interested in having that? as a goal?
Exactly. Well,
Yeah, 'cause he
and
said-
my thing is that, Stephanie is one of the 3 people.
That's what
You
she
know,
mentioned,
she
that
acted
she
real
brought that up,
surprised.
yeah.
She acted very surprised about there only being 5 employees when she knew it all the time because she's one of the ones that sends them up forward.
Yeah.
So why would you not want minorities when you have children that have people that don't look like them?
I think it's very important.
They did
To
not
me.
say they don't want minority.
No, they don't
No,
say
no,
that.
no, they
just-
didn't say, well, you might as well say they said it, but they didn't.
So-
When
They didn't outright
employees
say it.
are hiring, they have to hire minority. They are hiring minority. They have to have diversity. They are thinking about that. But also they have to look at qualifications. Mr. Barros was explaining that he does not have a data, he doesn't have a race on the paper, on the application. When he came to the commission meeting,
Yeah.
he said that he's not getting that information. He has names and qualifications.
Those are
That's
the
how-
ones that are sent up to him, right? He said he gets the group sent up to him, and then he and someone else makes the final decision.
But I think yes, but I think what we're saying and what Stephanie is saying he's not interested in is, yes, he's looking at qualifications, but I think what we're trying to say is that we think there should be an actual goal of percentage of minorities that are hired. So when we look at qualifications, okay, these people qualify, we need to make sure that a certain percentage of people that we hire on are minorities. Because we have children who are minorities, and he was interested in looking at race
So-
and making sure we hire a certain
I'm not-
percentage of people.
I'm not arguing, but basically you're saying if you are not reaching the percentage, you have to decide the people who are qualified, they're not minorities until you get to.
No, that's
Well,
affirmative
no.
action.
I'm sure,
Because if you
because
have
I
a
remember
goal
that
and you
because
are
I
not-
asked him, so if they do not, even if they do qualify, you're not gonna pick them over someone else. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I said.
But here's
So-
my thing, this
so
is what
maybe
needs to
here-
happen. If you have two people that have the same qualifications and one's a minority and one is not, then you should be hiring the minority. We have to meet a certain criteria. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
they-
There's a goal that we have to hire a certain amount of, because we have a certain amount of minorities in our schools. It's not
yeah.
fair to these
Yeah.
kids that are minorities to not see minorities as
But
teachers.
also it depends how many applications they really
But that's
get.
what we're
So
saying.
what
Like,
is-
understand the
reach out,
applications that are
reach
coming
out
up.
to certain things.
So when we say diversity goal, we're not trying to say affirmative action
Right.
or
Right.
if you don't hit the goal, you're in trouble, you're
No.
penalized, you're bad. I think we're just saying we wanted to see, or it would be helpful to see the intentionality
Yeah.
that you are actively seeking minorities. I hear what you're saying, that it's their job to actively already do that. But I think again, what they're interested in is having the school kind of say that, yeah, we're diligent, we're aware. By setting this goal, it means that we are focused on it. So
Especially in today's climate.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's because
Yeah.
of today's climate. It's like a
Yeah.
solidarity statement
Right.
of saying you will be not looked at for your color here. Your life matters. We won't hurt you. It's a thing in our culture today. So that's what they're saying. But I get what you're saying. Like it's already their job to be doing this. If they weren't, it's actually
But
probably.
well, no, it's not
illegal.
their job
But
to do
if they get
that
it,
because
they
it's
get like
not.
tax money back.
Well, she's talking about the Civil Service Commission.
Oh, the Civil Service,
Yeah,
okay,
that they
okay.
have to look for diversity.
I thought you were
We have
talking
all
about the
these
HR
laws in
director.
place.
It's not.
We have-
Yeah.
yes, we have to be mindful, we have to have the diversity of the workplace. And employees are trying
Yeah.
to do that.
I
Employers are
understand
trying
what they're
to do
saying
that.
now.
Now I get it what you mean, but also it's that complicated, like for the city. We don't really have many job openings. So I don't know how about schools, but even if you have that goal, you might not reach it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like we're not
There's
really
a-
caught up on not reaching it. We're at the part where we just want
We just
people
want
to connect.
inclusion.
Inclusion.
And so I
yeah.
think what he was saying at the meeting was there's this handshake. I keep going back to that
Yeah.
because he's saying that he gets his candidates through handshake.
Mhm.
And I think the question was asked, well, are you talking to any HBCUs, historically black colleges,
Central
universities?
State.
And there was no response. And so and then at the end of the meeting, we had a gentleman that is a chiropractor here in Troy that came up and said he's had a wonderful experience in the city. And he was raised in Puerto Rico where, so it completely makes sense that he's had a wonderful experience here. Because just like me, I grew up in a city where there was a lot of teachers that looked like me, a lot of students. He grew up and was raised in a school where it was very homogenous. Everybody looked the same, even his teachers. So it was very positive outlooking, which is how you should be if you grew up in a very inclusive school system. And so, the fact that Mark didn't want to look at having more people so that the minority kids could feel inclusive or feel that they had comfort in those classrooms, I think that's a significant stepping stone to any society that wants truly people to feel inclusive. And I understand that there's laws and things that are already in place, but I think for the climate that we're in today, we can no longer just accept that that's not happening. We can't accept that.
Well, I'll tell a story, and not even about race, but just about, most genders of teachers are what? Female. My son is not interested in school in the least bit, but I'll tell you what, he was so excited this year. They had a male teacher, a math teacher.
Yeah.
He said, he's so cool, Mom. Like, he's a teacher, like, he's math, he seems so cool. And what he said was, well, hopefully on Monday when I go, he doesn't have a different attitude, but I think he's really cool. I think he's gonna be really cool. Like, just for him to see a guy that's a teacher, for him is just like, whoa, like, guys can be teachers too. And I feel like, and he's already they had Mr. Hughes, but now to see again a second year where he has another guy, he feels more comfortable than with a woman teacher because he's a kid, he's a boy. So I think for kids of different cultures are gonna love seeing different cultures teaching, even if it's not their teacher, if they know that they're in the school, it's more comforting for them.
I would be interested to follow the track of, we have a lot of teachers that were former Troy students, but like the commonality that I see, and it's just from the outside looking in, and there could be many more commonalities. That's what I'm interested in, their education track. But it seems like they were like on all the sports teams.
Yeah.
Like literally on all the sports teams. So again, I'm not saying that that's why, but I'm just interested in seeing that track, because maybe we need to help people see that educational track so they can be hired more intentionally. So we ask the questions, and maybe, and again, I can have a conversation, maybe having a diversity goal implicates something more that we just don't know or understand. And so in all fairness, we'll educate ourselves on this side in hopes that we can meet in the middle.
So I guess we need to look at.
Be that I want to have more diversity in the workplace.
Yeah.
That's exactly what.
Yeah, it can't be like black teachers only. It has to be diverse.
But I think it is both. It's.
Could be also
I think it.
numbers.
It's
No.
not sugarcoat, I think.
Right. No. I mean, the whole reason that we're all sitting here
We're sitting here
today.
trying to sugarcoat and say diversity.
Right.
So we need to have black.
There needs to be some black
teachers.
people.
Well, I need black, I need gay, I need
Yes, all of it,
Chinese.
all
Like,
of
I'll
it.
be honest, I'm not just
I
sitting
really
here for
don't
one
need-
agenda. I need to
really,
reflect our students. So if they're gay, I need gay.
But I
Like,
think
we
we need to
can't
start somewhere
swing
too,
that
right? I know,
pendulum,
but I
but we
think we
can't
need to
yell
start
about
somewhere.
racism
No,
and then be racist. We
no,
can't.
I get what
I
you're
don't
saying.
think
I
that's
think we need to
no,
start
it's not being
I think
racist.
we need
It's
to start
just
No,
somewhere,
the sun is
especially with, like, our
shining.
elementary kids, like at that point,
Yeah.
they need to see from a very
Thank
early
you.
age that they can be whatever they want to
Oh,
be.
I
And
totally
so-
agree with you, but when you made the comment that we have to be diverse to whatever that student body looks like.
But I think we need to be specific.
In
Just
all
saying
honesty.
diverse, and then don't get one, Asian American teacher. Oh, we're diverse now. No, we need to be more diverse than
Yes,
that. It needs
yes.
to be, and they know what we mean. They know what
They
we
know
mean when we
exactly
say
what we
diverse.
mean.
And I think it's a choice that people are making.
I agree, but there is some political structure, whatever rules. So can it be
Yeah.
a percentage? Like, it's okay to say we want to be 2% more diverse each year, 5%, whatever's realistic. And then we look at that diversity as it grows, right? It should reflect the classroom. I mean, I think we're all in agreement in that.
Mm-mm.
And okay, so
No.
where are we disagreeing?
I
Just call
think
it
we're
out.
disagreeing where, like, the whole reason that we're all sitting in this room today is because of what we're seeing in today's society. What we're seeing in today's society is a systemic issue that we have in America with not being inclusive. We have issues where students go to a classroom, they don't feel like they fit in, and maybe they don't dribble a basketball or they don't carry football, and they're a little different. And when they go to these classrooms, they're ostracized for some reason, and they say, I hate school, and then they leave.
But
And
that's
then,
what
and
we're
then
all saying.
hold on, and then that person ends up becoming an issue in our society
Yes.
because they feel that a certain group of people didn't like them. And since they feel that they couldn't be successful in this area, now they're angry at the world. Now you have gang violence. Now you have murder. Now you have drug dealer. And it's not just because of the school system. I know that there's home issues. However, a student with bad circumstances at home that has a teacher that can kind of understand where that student comes from can really help guide a student into the light.
So the question, are you saying specifically only Black?
I'm saying that,
Because
yes.
I need you to just say what you mean.
I'm saying that Troy, Ohio has to look at trying to match the amount of African-American students with the amount of African-American teachers that they
Okay.
have in these school systems. And it needs to be diverse at each school. There needs to be
I'm-
Black people in these choice schools for these children, because
I'm
they're,
comfortable with saying that, but then we also have to say it for
Yes.
the other
I
groups
agree
too.
with you too.
Like
but I think
you
we have to
can't
start-
just
but I
go,
think we have to start somewhere.
yeah, and that's
And I
fine.
think that starting where we're talking about starting is the starting point, because you see what happened when they were talking about the bathrooms. They
Well,
were-
that's what I'm
You
saying.
know what I'm
Like
saying?
you
So-
can't ignore the
No, I get that, but I
LGBTQ
think we need to
community
start at the
if,
basic places
Yeah.
of just race.
I'm-
because that was 2
I'm
years
sorry,
ago.
let
They
me-
couldn't even have a bathroom. Like you,
Yeah, but we're always put in a category, like if it's just for Blacks, then they always want to add
everybody else. And
onto it.
I don't think now is the
Every
time for
time.
that. I don't think now is the time for that. And I have a nephew that is flaming gay, and I love him. I love him dearly. But now I think this is a different time. This is a
Yes.
different. I think that the reason that you have a wealth gap, the reason that you have such a wide wealth gap it's primarily due to education issues with African American children in the country.
oh, I'm
Now,
not denying anything.
you can
you're
go
saying.
back to redlining, you can go back to how people had farmland and other people weren't given that. And
Yeah.
that farmland then equated into money that then equated into education and companies and blah, blah, blah. Right.
I
So
teach
there's
this
that
all day
whole
long, I
other,
get it.
yep. So there's this whole other system.
Yeah.
However, to equalize America and at least make it somewhat fair, a kid that is growing up in a predominantly white city has to be able to see himself or herself through the people that they're interacting with.
Again,
they
I
need
agree
to
with all
have-
that, but we are the Human Relations Commission.
So we have to suggest to the mayor
That
and
we start here
that,
first.
that this is where we need to start.
Well, I think that should go to the whole Human Relations Commission for further discussion. Again, of course, we all agree in this, but diversity is bigger. But I see what you're saying. So maybe that goes to the bigger,
And
commission.
that's the
And it
thing,
does,
when you
because
say
we have to be able to
diversity,
talk and
Yes.
maybe
They're
if
not-
it's okay.
Yeah,
They're not
What I-
thinking diversity. They're
Yes.
thinking, they're not thinking Black, just Black. They're just thinking everybody else but that.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't want something to come about, like, because I have a step
Why didn't
son
we call
who's
this
transitioned
out
to a
in
man
Human
and she's
Relations
Black or
Commission?
he's Black. And so I totally get what Sonia's coming from, but I feel like if we include all of that in the beginning, it's like, okay, we'll just get a white gay teacher then. You know what I'm saying? Like, it'll always be something
Something
else,
other
you
than
know,
what we
to
need,
come in
yeah.
front
It
of,
always adds on something else.
yeah, there's always something else that
But
You
we
that's
realize
support.
the LGBTQ community actually supports
Yes,
Black
no,
Lives Matter, right?
absolutely.
Like
No,
they
no,
are
absolutely.
partnering
No,
up.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, but I feel
That's
like if
an
we're
add-on.
coming to someone who's not thinking how we're thinking and we know we need to include everybody, if we don't start somewhere, we just start big,
Yeah.
they're gonna undercut the
So
Black community.
it
time
makes
and
sense
time
though
and time
for
again.
this to go
Like it
back
has
to
for the last 50
the
years.
Human Relations Commission as a whole. And we probably should have already had made that. And I'm not against anything, but we probably should have called that out from the
Oh, I
beginning.
think we did. And
I
I
think
think
it
would have
we,
been.
I
This
think
is
that was the
Human
plight.
Relations Commission. You cannot really make it just about one group,
Right,
which won't be fair to the other groups, and that will be that we are discriminating.
I think
too.
what they're saying is
We're
they want
not
to
included,
start
which
with
is
we have to
not-
start
as
somewhere.
a
I understand that's why you have your
platform.
priorities and you'll be working on, and you cannot do all this
Yeah,
at
you
once.
can't be
I
Black and
understand, but you can
racist.
also,
It,
you cannot
just
exclude
can't.
other groups.
Yeah.
You have to
No way.
I'm
recognize
biracial.
other
I've seen
issues
a
in the
lot.
community.
She said, "I
Keeping
love
it
you."
real, anybody can be racist. I'm not gonna
So-
sit and act like that's not true, because that's very true.
Well, when-
I might have a white skin, but I do feel like I belong to a different group too,
Gotcha.
which might be my own like different group.
Yeah.
Yes, there are other people in other groups who have to be included. When we are talking about diversity and inclusion, we have to include all those people. But yes, you have your priorities, and you have to start from somewhere. But you should not forget about the others.
Yeah, and you
Sonia
know,
always does a good job including all the other groups, and
it's not that we're not. Listen,
Yeah.
we are not trying to be non-inclusive to anybody, but the right now what's going on in this country is um, it, it, it's really inclusive of one group,
Mhm.
It
and
is, because when
the
we talk
reason
about, can we appreciate like Black lives, but when we talk about like LGBTQ, if we address that, they're still not respecting the fact that this LGBTQ person is Black. Like,
Yes.
you know what I'm saying? Like, they're respecting the LGBTQ white
It's gay,
person, but
right?
they're not accepting and respecting and being diverse when it comes to the color of the person's skin. So we have to start there.
yes,
And we can build up from the other things that people have issues with, because that's to me the root. Like, that goes further back than your sexual orientation and all of that, because that never used to matter. And now all of a sudden people think it matters. But the core problem starts with how we've been separated into thinking that this group is so inferior than this group. And even if you're a white LGBTQ, you're still higher up than a Black person who's straight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we have to start
Yeah.
there to get that equal before we can get anything else equal, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. That's just what I can see.
Yeah,
from-
no.
And I'm white, so, but that's just what I can see from, it has to start there, because if we don't start, it's not gonna work. People still don't see
Mm-mm.
people as equal. They're not gonna see it if we
I-
don't start there.
wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah.
And me being born and raised in this country, that like right now, that's the most pressing thing. Like if you even look at the election,
Yes.
if you look at what's like, if you take a gander and just look around, this is it's more important than anything in the last 30 years where we sit right now and what we do to change it. This is it's so important. And I'm married to a white woman. I have tons of white people in my family. I'm by no means, I have no hard feelings toward white people. There are a lot of good white people and Black people in this world, but it's not viewed that way. And our children, which are responsible for the future of our country, are being sold the same false truth that people have been sold in America for the last 100 years. They're still being sold the same thing. And the only way to change it is to make those schools look more like the city. And we have an Asian member on our commission. We don't have a African American member that is a teacher at Troy on our commission. We don't have a principal that's Black on the commission. I don't know that they exist.
We have
Mr.
one.
Sadler.
We
And
do.
he's counted in with the 5.
He's counting it. So there's 5. And so
I didn't know there was.
Yeah.
That probably makes sense.
sorry, but this is a very like if we're tasked with spending our time to help out Troy, right now this is the best way to help Troy.
Yes.
It's to make Troy a city that's truly inclusive, and it looks like inclusiveness is through education. It's also through representation for the people in that school system.
And I think we need to just remember that no matter what else keeps coming, there's always going to be something that's being oppressed. Somebody is being oppressed.
Yes.
But we can't forget about, we can't just put something on the back burner because something new is coming up that is being oppressed. We have to start from scratch.
Yes.
Because if we just do these things here and there and forget about, the main thing, we've got to focus on the main thing and then work our way up.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Sorry.
Okay. Don't be sorry. You
Well,
were honest.
Well, no, I understand exactly what you're saying.
I feel like
Because if we don't take care of this now, in the next couple years,
we've wasted our
it's gonna
time.
come up in Troy, and it's gonna be worse. Because this generation is not like the old
They are
generation.
They're
not.
tired.
They're
Yep.
tired. They're tired of
Yep.
seeing their parents, their grandparents.
Yep.
They're not
their
smart
kids.
with things
agree with
that.
anymore.
They're-
I agree with that.
yeah.
Not happening.
And we're trying to make it better. And so that our strongest and our best will stay in drawing, which they won't do now.
Right, they're leaving.
They're leaving.
But we also cannot say that they overlooked minorities' applications, that's why they were not hired. And
Because they're not
superintendents
looking
and
for
other-
them.
But we're not saying
looking
we're not
for
saying
them.
Yeah.
We're saying
they're
they're
looking.
overlooking them.
They're not,
No,
they're not,
they're
they're
not
not
looking
trying
for
at
them.
all.
If they've only had 5, and I think that's a lot compared to, I think the last teacher, I think there might have been maybe 6, 5 teachers that like all retired within the same
Because he's
time.
trying to find the best.
And
people.
after that is when,
Yeah,
you know, they stopped hiring.
right.
I shouldn't have missed this meeting.
What they're saying is they can explore more
So he
resources than what they
basically
do.
Yes,
As simple as that.
yes.
You can't say you're trying to find the best qualified when you're not looking everywhere.
Right.
You can't limit your potential by only going halfway.
Direction.
So what, is it an autonomous choice that he chose to not seek other, or is there
but
some kind
My
of,
understanding is he did not make the decision. The 3 people that he talked about on this board made the decision and handed those.
The applicants
Applications
over, and
up
then
to him.
he took it further.
do we need
he-
to talk to
that's
the
the next step.
commission about their thoughts and
So we
ideologies?
should
I think.
Because
try to
that's-
find out where
that's
those 3,
contradictory of
where
the
they,
civil
those 3 made the
Right.
decision.
Can we
Or 4.
put them on our list to possibly come and present the Civil Service Commission, or the 3 people? Is that a possibility
One
to
of them
understand?
It's ours anyway.
Yeah, we can.
I do not know if Civil Service Commission gives the full list of applications. I'm
From
not
our
sure.
conference or
Don't say
from our
Stephanie's on the
meeting,
commission that
Right.
Yeah.
gives the application.
she said that they give the resumes over. So
To-
they have a
to
list of
schools?
resumes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
and then they
Yes.
then
They
take
make
it
the final
forward.
decision.
Yeah,
So it starts here, then goes up.
yeah.
I love that everybody can be honest. I appreciate that from everybody.
And it's
to
being
be
recorded.
honest. Oh, he said it's recorded.
Well, Civil Service Commission, they get list of applicants, like for laborers and other workers. They do have some exams and testing they have to go through, and after they are done, they get the list of the 10 or 20 the ones who scored the highest, and that's what they get. They get the list of the people who passed.
And
the
also, he
Yeah.
said he
Yeah,
judges
you're
it
right.
on whether or not
Yes.
he
Okay.
doesn't like to hire people that are from Troy because they might leave.
I got a light bulb. So insane, because I feel you. It makes sense. So what if we definitively write out the goal so no one can do that? So a percentage of African American teachers, a percentage of Hispanic or ESL, like just call it what it is. So it can't be. And then that way we're still representing everyone, but we're being intentional. And obviously there are more African Americans, so there should be a higher percentage of teachers to reflect the community, right? A lower percent because we have a lower percent of Asian and or ESL.
Yeah.
So that's being intentional and not letting people, but then we're still advocating for everybody. Because I don't want to take from what you're saying, because you're right, there's no argument, but how do you still continue to represent everybody? Because again, this world, the pendulum flies this way
Yep.
and then it flies back that way. And I think you guys alluded to, this generation is sick of that.
Yeah.
Sick of the shoom,
yeah.
you're racist, now you're being racist because you're racist, and so on. Like they're done with all of
I don't know
that.
if y'all get it. What's
Yeah.
going on, but people are done.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
people are done.
done. Yeah.
Like,
So
it's only gonna get worse because whites are becoming minorities, and it's gonna get worse and worse,
Mhm. Scary.
worse and worse.
so it's,
So
that's a question that gets posed back to Tim.
And that's another thing, you know, you have black ones that are
Yeah, I
already
think we
here,
have to talk
or minorities that
commission
are already here.
First.
And
first. I think
for
we need
some
to start
reason they
there,
let 'em go.
and then we can
Okay.
run it
why are
down
you
because
hiring
they'll
from
probably
within
tell us how to handle it.
before you
Okay. That
get
makes
new
sense.
applications?
Right.
What's the name of the commission again?
The civil service,
Yeah,
which Stephanie would be our point person for that, I guess.
yeah.
Do we have African Americans on the Civil Service Commission?
I think we have two, well,
Stephanie,
one of them died.
is there anybody else right now that's,
I don't think so. There's nobody.
so even within that
Right,
commission, there
right.
should be a minority there, right?
They do have a diversity.
They do?
Political diversity and racial too, yes.
They do? Okay.
DeMarcus, I forgot.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
Marcus
that's right, I
Moody.
forgot about the Marcus. Yeah.
Gotcha. And you said another orientation, I'm sorry.
Political.
Gotcha.
Yes, the members, I think they have to be with a different, they have to have a different political affiliation, so you can have. the same.
Okay. Sweet. Man, the passion in the room. That's awesome. Okay. Should we move on or do we have anything? I forget where we were. Where do we go?
Okay, we were.
I think we were saying we were trying to invite the Civil Service Commission, right? We
Yeah.
had
So that's number
discussion
5
with
as a
them.
whole, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chairman is Craigie Weiss, Vice Chair DeMarcus Moody, Stephanie Johnson, and then Secretary is Mary Lynn Mauser. And let's see, Craig's term expires December 31st of this year. And the Vice Chair, DeMarcus, is on through 2025 and Stephanie Johnson through 2021. And then Secretary is indefinite. So we should probably
Who wants to
invite Craig.
commission? One of you two. Get up there, girls. Yeah, I think so. We should invite.
Okay.
Definitely.
So should we invite
It'd be
Craig
good. How do
Wise
you
or-
get on it? Are you invited?
Right,
Yeah.
they probably pick you.
Probably the head.
Craig
Yeah, the
Wise?
chairman. I'd say that.
Okay.
Definitely.
Can we look to invite them or actually,
On
we should,
Thursday, when you'll be discussing who you want to invite on the next meetings, you'll have a list of presenters, which I included in your packet.
okay,
And I
Write them
left
in.
space and you can add more presenters to it.
okay,
And then you can also indicate on empty column, which I also included
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
When do you want to invite the presenter, the specific presenter? And then I'll make sure that I will reach out to presenters and ask them to attend the meeting.
And you can put, Zuleika down. She said she would be willing to come.
I think it's just good to put out there too that I know that everything's being recorded and we're, have to watch what we say, but I think it's good to just be honest with what,
have to be
like what
transparent.
we're,
Yeah.
yeah, we gotta be
Yeah.
transparent with what we're looking for. Like,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna lie and tell you that, this is what I want to do with this commission. I know what we need to do with this commission and what my goals are.
Right,
And I think that we have to have a starting point and we can't worry about people getting upset because they're gonna be
They're
upset.
already
There's gonna be
upset
people that are
anyway.
mad because they
Yeah.
don't want
Right.
what we're doing to happen,
Yeah.
or they don't see it as being important, but it's important,
Yeah,
Yeah.
very.
so,
And we also need to model, like,
yes.
it's okay to disagree or
Yes.
try to learn more from each other to get to where we need to get to.
I think we started another committee meeting, employment committee.
That's what I thought. At first I got lost. Like, hold on, are we in the, but this is the meeting I missed, so yeah.
Wednesday's meeting, so if you want to,
Seems like the wrong one.
yeah.
man.
Okay, so without saying business, we kind of assigned these initiatives to people, but I think we're all a part of each
Yeah,
of
we
them
do.
somehow. We kind of know what we're responsible for.
Oh,
So what's the next meeting?
You want to
So
go over
you
the
said you wanted
future
to spread them
business?
out a little bit
Yeah.
more,
We got some future business here.
do we?
But it's mostly Kane. Kane mentioned bringing a representative from the State Board of Education in the future. Suggested to invite Michael Moore to a presentation as well.
I say, yeah, there was.
Feltner
stuff.
suggested inviting the student government. Probably not here yet. I think
All
probably
of them are listed on the.
you got it.
Yeah.
Oh, so she said-
Salome's got it. Check.
Yeah.
Meeting
She said-
adjourned.
She said that you have to do,
Yes,
You have to do
presenters
all
should
that
be coming to
Thursday.
the commission meeting, so
Yeah.
the entire commission has a chance to listen to the presentations.
Makes sense.
Also, we're going to see, I'm gonna say it wrong, the Rossville Museum Education Center. We're gonna go there tomorrow at 10. if anybody wants to go.
Where's that at?
Larry Hamilton's,
Oh, okay.
I say it wrong every time, I'm
Been there.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. I didn't get to do it on an email, and since we're here, just
Well, one thing, if the commission will schedule, decide the majority of you to go somewhere on a field trip, you have to notify us so we can post it. I mean, media has to know and public have to know, and then if they want to come to you, they can.
Well, that's
how
if
it
you
is
have
for
the
council-
majority of,
council too. It has to be posted.
that's if
how it
you,
works.
we're going to educate ourselves, though. Aren't we allowed to educate ourselves?
that's if we have a majority of a subcommittee though, correct?
It's only two of us.
Me too, I have an older
I have to ask,
daughter.
but I think
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll
It was
ask to
just
see.
two people, but I mean, if we do add more, so we probably
That's
need
how
to,
it-
yeah.
That's how it works. It's not only your commission, that's-
so you're uninvited.
So what did you
can't
guys
come,
found
sorry.
out with what you?
Oh,
Yeah.
Anyway, I've already
Thursday
been
with what
there.
you guys found out on,
Yeah.
and
Gotcha.
then you could make it like what you guys discovered, right?
Yeah.
You gonna join?
No, you guys are definitely invited. Next meeting date.
Did you say, Marvin, that you wanted to space these meetings out a little more so we have more time?
I was, that might be good because we're having a lot of misses. I think we're meeting a ton, and then I think that we need to really dive into the work here and
Yeah.
get it done. So
Here, so that would be.
Never mind, I asked that
So before
question
the next
before.
meeting,
Attendance
though-
policy, because we do have a lot.
yeah,
So who's going to talk to Stephanie about the third party? Because I know that if we're gonna space this out, we need to either come up with questions that we think that should be on that survey. Maybe we should do that anyways.
I think we're going to have to collaborate on that
Okay.
still. So I think we all have to submit our questions, and we're going to have to talk through. I wanted to spend some more time on that because I know it's just like that's very difficult to do.
So maybe we should just reach out to Stephanie to figure out who that third party is. And then, and then we can research it to figure out, what they're about, and you wanna use them even. And if we get a copy of the questions that they're gonna have, that would be good. And then we can just go from there.
Okay. Shane, did you say you wanted to do that?
I got a whole bunch of stuff
Okay, I
to
got
do
it.
with
I got
Tim, starting with like cupcakes. I'm joking. I'm joking. Do we need to come back sooner to get those questions done, or can we?
Well, we need to figure out, when are they putting those surveys out?
I don't think she mentioned.
I don't know.
Her screen always goes out
Yeah,
too, so
we need
she
to ask
did, we
her
might
on
not have heard
Thursday
it.
when we see her, because we need to know when those surveys, if we're gonna use them, then obviously we need to
Yeah.
have our questions ready.
Yeah, if somebody could get hold of her, maybe she could bring them Thursday. That would be
Yes,
good,
that would be a good idea.
if she has them. So we can take a look at them.
I'll call Stephanie.
I doubt she has them all. If it's a third party, it's probably like all in there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why people pay for it. It's probably hidden. And then could you find out if she knows what their goal is in their survey?
Yeah.
Do our goals match? And you said next meeting, did you say the 5th?
That's 2 weeks. Unless you want to do it, that's only a week or.
I'm fine.
The 21st, yeah, that's only a week. That's not even a week.
21st,
28th would be 2 weeks.
one of the committees is meeting on the 21st. I think it's 6
Yeah, intergroup on the 21st.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I have neighborhood watch on the 28th, so if we could do the 5th,
The 5th would be good. I think that gives us plenty of time to,
6 p.m. Senior Center. Education group.
Then
Next week.
time for everybody to adjourn the meeting?
Is it
Someone has to say.
I was waiting for
I
Karen.
thought we were
Oh,
ready.
okay, motion to adjourn the meeting,
Aye.
I second.
all in favor, say aye.
Sorry,
Aye.
I forgot second.